done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay. So, Senator, why form a committee? Why not just do this thing? Okay, you can form a committee, but why put it in the Gazette notice?
I'm going for a public office, which is owned by Kenyans. And I would like when these people go out to do like public polling and stuff like that and doing investigation, trying to reach out to possible resource mobilizers and what have you. They have a basis that have clearly been announced in law, that have been gazetted, and they are doing a function that is above board. They are not clandestine. That's why I chose to put in the Kenya Gazette, so that it's in the official record of the Republic. That these people have been given an assignment by myself, and an assignment has got certain TORs, which are clearly published there.
Yeah.
So when they walk into a place, they will be able to show the Gazette notice as the basis upon which they are working. And that's something that's public and in the open.
Are they earning a salary?
No, they're volunteering. They're mainly volunteers. Yeah.
How are you financing them? How are you facilitating them? If you expect them to do a poll across the country, you expect them to hold sittings with people and ask them, what do you think the main pain points of Kenyans are? What would you like to see from a future president? Do you think Okiya Mtata would be there? Who's fueling their vehicle? Who's paying for their hotel?
No, that one I can manage. That one I've got the capacity to do.
Oh, so you're the one who's financing this thing?
I've got the capacity to do from my small businesses here and there. I'm able to put up 2-3 shillings. Yeah.
Okay. So what's the time frame of this exploratory
They've been given
committee?
18 months, but they can report back earlier. Yeah.
Okay.
Because the 18 months I put out, it could be the latest point if one was run, it would just be the tail end of the comet. Yeah, you need to catch it. Yeah.
Okay. So they're going to give consolidated views.
Yes.
And this would be after they've gone around the country
Yes.
and they're talking to people and asking them questions based on some of these things that you've
and
said.
the main thing is, if you look at it, is to develop a policy framework. We don't want to get there, and then, there's a time no government, after it went into power, it called a meeting at the KICC to say the Kenya we want.
Yes.
Then there was the Nairobi we want. This like they took power and they did what they wanted to do with it.
So they're developing a manifesto.
Yeah.
For
Well, it's more than a manifesto. It's called an ideological identity and a policy framework, legal and policy framework they're going to bring up. Largely, we want to go for a form of developmental state. And even though we are going to have very radical interventions in state corporations to have them run professionally. We have litigated in the courts until the Court of Appeal. You have orders saying that state corporations should be constituted competitively. You are going to run the Kenya Airways. You want to go and sit on that board. What are the goals? What can you do for Kenya Airways as a board? You have dumped people there who go there to see how they can steal, how they can survive, and all boards are just like that. So even if you have sometimes a very good CEO, he gets bogged down by the kind of board he's given. So you want a professional board, you want professionalized parastatals, we want to really get away from cronyism. Let us give the vehicles to the best drivers they are. And bake a bigger cake for this country. So those are among the interventions we want to take, very, very deliberate.
yeah.
You have got the other thing I was going to mention is transport. Transport is a major hindrance to the development of this country. We waste a lot of hours in transport because the state has left it to the private sector. Totally. The state needs to intervene in some very, very specific ways and look at public transport as a strategic area that needs to be focused on. Just look at the other countries that are developed. Public transport runs very well. So that's another area I want to look at. And among the issues, people are the groups we have, other than the committee, I've got very many volunteers in other committees working on various policy frameworks that they think can be taken up. So we want to make transport affordable. Even air transport is a very, very, is a necessary thing in this country today. You need to be able to fly from Nairobi to Mandera, transact and come back the same day. So we want to try and see if why not have proper airstrips across the at least in every county, basic airstrips, a runway that can handle an average plane, and some
tower,
some tower and what have you. Open up the airwaves, remove taxation and necessary taxation on the issue, get volumes going, let Kenyans move easily.
Senator Umtata, you've said you do not want to be the Messiah. But all these things, must they wait for you to become president for them to get done?
I wish Ruto could pick it up today and I will support him.
You're a senator. You're a member of the national...
Yes, I'm a senator.
Of the legislature in Kenya. These are things that can be done. Today, if you wanted, for example, to go and lobby, you want to lobby more than 10 million Kenyans to vote for you as president. Can you go and lobby just 67 members of the Senate to support you in a move, for example, to say that our education shall be properly public funded as per the requirements of the Constitution and as per the policy of government, that 100% of our education, basic education, shall be taxpayer funded? Do you need to be president for that to become reality?
Yes, you need somewhere where the country has reached. The Senate, the National Assembly are largely rubber stamps of the executive. The single voices who stand out like mine or the other are nothing. You saw the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua. Just choreographed. Just choreographed. So the Senate is, I think, an area whereby...
So what would you do as president to make that reality? Let's just deal with, for example, ensuring that a child in Kenya goes from ECD all the way to, what's the now last class in CBC? It's grade what?
No.
12.
12, yes.
Yeah. Up to grade 12 without having to pay. Taxpayers are paying for that.
First of all, there's a lot of money right now being given to people to pay from their pockets in the terms of bursaries and what have you. There's a lot of money being wasted. That money has to be streamlined into the means of education. And these savings from once you crack down and read the Riot Act. In fact, they say a river does not flow higher than its source. So if the source is polluted, you cannot wait for clean water downstream. You go and clean up the source. That's what I'm happy. That's what I want to go and do.
So you say, as president, then you'll issue a decree and say no more CDF?
Not necessarily decree. Those have been declared by the courts, but have been captured. What I'll say is that we are implementing the Constitution. You are a legislator. What are you doing with the executive functions? Go and oversight the executive on the ground. If money has to be tied to a constituency, let it be tied, but it goes through the executive channel. You as the MP for the area, you can go and oversight that money it is used. In fact, it would be more efficient use of money than when the money is controlled by the MP.
I have to ask, a lot of things that we've seen and we see currently is that political alignments then breed appointments in government. And those then who have been tasked with responsibility for development, whether it is in a ministry or whether it is in, any other of its related offices. And a lot of that come as a result of loyalty, allegiance, call it whatever you want to call it. How do you run away from such a thing? Because I think it's absolutely necessary for you to ensure development and proper leadership that you cannot do that kind of business with your friends. How would you run away from that?
I don't have to run away. I just implement the law. The law is so clear that those things are not there. That's why in this country you'll find that, other than a few names that you can count maybe on one hand, the so-called billionaires in this country have either been civil servants or politicians. Which means state legacy has been used in an improper way to enrich individuals. So, with a republic, this word republic, I don't know that people understand it. It's the most powerful thing we ever say in this country. A republic is a government of law. And when the Americans had given themselves their constitution, there was an old man called Benjamin Franklin who had really worked for it. He was an old man in his 80s with a very severe gout. He was asked by some of the people, what have you given us? Is it a republic or a monarchy? And he said one thing, a republic, if you can keep it. So a republic calls for eternal vigilance. We must keep the Republic of Kenya. When you talk about Republic of Kenya, you must go for a government of law. The real problem we have in this country is rule of law. The experts can do nothing. People are running this country like they're experts on everything. Why don't we create a situation whereby we allow the cream to rise to the top based on merit, not on loyalty, not on friendship? And that one can go out and it will work. Because this issue of chronism and whatever has not worked. Even tribalism has not worked for this country. So let us try the rule of law. Let us try to allow experts in various dockets in the civil service or wherever to come to the top and function. I'm in my office, I've got so many petitions from civil servants saying, why can this be done? Like just a few days ago, I got one from the people on tuna, Minister of Fisheries. They came to me and said, look at the resource we have. But because of vested interests, we are only issuing licenses to foreigners to come and fish in our waters. And they showed me data to show that the Indian Ocean is barren in terms of tuna, except on the African coast, with the epicenter being Kenya. $1 trillion shillings.
We're the ones who have tuna.
Yes, mainly
on this African coast.
On the African coast, the Indian Ocean is barren. But now, who are catching it? All are foreigners, just giving licenses. And attempts by these people in the ministry to come up with policies to help have been frustrated. So they came and said, what can you do to help us break out of this? So there we have got people who want this country to grow. They are being denied. You have people who come and say, we would like to invest in something. But if we have got crooks in government who say, give us 30% upfront, so people cannot come into this country. So we need to get rid of those bottlenecks. We need to get rid of these cartels. We need to get rid of a situation whereby that fake fertilizer can be given to farmers by government agencies who are on public payroll and no head rolls. You see, we need to get those kind of things should not happen.
Okay.
And if I become president, there'll be things I'll say, not under my watch. There'll be a list of items of not under my watch.
I hate to sound like a wet blanket here, but you have started between now and 2027. So many people are going to be coming here and saying exactly the same things, pointing out where the problems are, what the solutions should be like, and saying these things can be done easily if I become president. We have seen it many times before. What makes you different? What would make us believe that when Okia says this, it's going to be different from what Ruto told us, what Uhuru told us, what Raila has told us before, what all these other candidates have told us before?
When you look at the kind of manifesto we are developing, we are not having the kind of things we have been seeing, which are basically mirror images of each other. The manifestos that have been coming out, when you look at them, I usually use the analogy of a prison, whereby you have got this big prison, then you have got prisoners and you have got wardens. But the arrangement is that the prisoners occasionally have a chance to choose the chief warden. So there's a fight occasionally every 5 years of who becomes the chief warden. So it is very vicious among the wardens. But when you look at them, their promissory notes or their manifestos are that put me as the chief warden, I will add you time in the sun. I'll fumigate twice a week. I'll improve your food rations. Nobody says I'll break down the prison. Nobody says I will emancipate you. So this culture of handouts and what have you has to go.
You've gotten to the heart of the matter, Senator, because if we look at the culture of corruption, as we call it, which in essence is a manifestation of the impunity, it seems to have gotten to our very souls because it defines us more or less. We are a corrupt people. We all acknowledge we have more than ample human resource. If it is structures of government and plans as to how to execute things, we have archived them, we have them. how do you get people to accept the rule of law? Because the rule of law will run contrary to the very things that I've just said. And it will threaten the livelihood and the lives of very many people. And these are people who will definitely push back.
What I do is, one thing, I'm a very big believer in the rule of law. Because in the Garden of Eden, man was told you'll be governed by law. When they disobeyed the law, we lost paradise. In Exodus, Moses was given the 10 Commandments. It was the law. It was going to govern you. So the law is central. And the first thing I'll do in the rule of law is to apply it to myself. It will not be ruled by law. It will be rule of law. The first thing is to subject myself totally to that law and do everything within the ambit of that law. The law we have is very powerful, and no individual, unless he raises a militia to establish a different state, can stand up to the law of this country. And so for me, it's not a difficult thing because we already have the text. We already have the Constitution. Take an example. Elections in this country.
Yes.
For president, you always get the mess. Go to Article 138, Clause 2. It tells you an election shall, if there are more than 2 candidates, the one you just read, an election shall be held in each constituency.
Yep.
Why don't we do that? The Americans do have the same structure. In every state, they elect and say who has won in the state. Then even you in the media are able to call. Why are you not able to call an election in Kenya? Why are we disobeying that fact that the election must end at the constituency? Why do we have bombers? Why do we have bombers? And then we create all this chaos. And why is bombers in the law? It's not even in the Election Act that makes the chairman of the IBC the presidential returning officer. It's in the regulations. And they bring all that chaos. Why can't an election terminate at the constituency as the constitution has it? Then, whatever verification, whatever is done at the constituency.
But how can it be done at the constituency? Yet there are 290.
Yes. Get 290 certificates.
And then?
You can call the election.
Who?
Anybody can call the election.
Apana, boy.
The
Even
IBC will only validate.
Even that America you're quoting, it's a Senate that calls the election.
No, but they are going to do it in January. Don't we know who has been elected?
Yeah, we can provisionally say.
Don't we know who has been elected?
We can provisionally say.
Yes.
Has it been called?
No, the media called.
Bas.
And Trump is the presidential elect.
Based on?
But the declaration now will happen in January. For us, it's within 7 days, 10 days. We should be doing that declaration. Not again, they're not going to go on January to begin counting the ballots in each polling station and saying they're verifying and doing whatever. They're not going to do that. They are going to go with those results. The electors have come, and you already know who the president-elect is. That's what should happen even in this country. Let the election be transparent. Let the election end at a point, which is the constituency. Let you media people put 290 reporters out there to return you results. You do the mathematics and say, this thing, there's no winner. We are seeing a runoff.
Senator, let me belabor this point. Everything you're saying requires a support system.
Yes.
And the support system will be Kenyans, individuals who have a similar belief.
Yeah.
How on earth do you get such people? Where do you get them? I mean, they're here, but what process will you use to get them so you know this?
I know that's just what you are doing right now. You are making me reach so many Kenyans with these ideas. So you're going to go out and get these ideas. And I think the next election, one of the clarion calls will be no bombers. If bombers is there, there'll be trouble. We don't want bombers in the elections.
So what do we want?
We want an election as the Constitution prescribes, to terminate at the constituency. Let the results for all the needs be pinned at the constituency. Those who have run for the county seats, if it's like Busia, there are 7 constituencies. You pick the results for the 7 constituencies. You know who is the women rep. You know who is the senator. You know who is the governor. And you know who is the president. For the people of Busia, whom have you elected as president? Then the same goes. Madare North, Dagoretti, like that. Then at the end of the day, the 290 constituencies report.
To whom?
No, to the people, the constituents.
Yes,
who have elected.
but nationally, who tallies all these things in all these constituencies, in all these counties?
You just get an aggregate.
Who is you?
Who does
Now,
it?
the IBC chair then declares. He doesn't do a finding. He just aggregates and declares. Once
He
you
has
look
to-
at the Constitution,
He has to find.
no, if you look at the Constitution,
He has to find
look at
that.
Article 86.
There are other things that happen nationally,
Like what?
Senator. For example, the 50% plus one is a finding.
No,
It's after tallying.
he is not a finding.
It's
He's
after
just
tallying.
like an aggregation.
Okay.
He just
When you
adds,
aggregate-
which even you in the media, when you have got the results from
Me in the media, it don't matter.
No,
I'm
you
not
have
in
got
the
the
Constitution.
290. You have the 290 constituencies.
I am not in the
Or
Constitution.
even me as a
Senator.
candidate.
You are not
I've
in
got,
the Constitution.
I've got the 290. No, even Article 10. Look at Article 138 now, 10, clause 10. It says the chairman shall declare the results. Now look at Article 86, 2 and 3. 2 gives you that in every polling station there will be a presiding officer. Then at the constituency there's a returning officer.
So the chairman shall
And
declare.
the two, what do?
They announce the
They
result.
tally and announce the results.
They announce the result.
But the chairman, the word is
Declares the winner.
declare the winner.
Yes.
He doesn't announce the results.
But
But what have we done? We have given him the powers of a returning officer. The chairman is not a returning officer of anything. The
what-
chairman
do
simply
we need you to be president to change that?
no towards the presidency. That's part of the fight. That the next election has to be happening that way. We must terminate the election at the constituency. Mambo ya Bomas, Mambo ya Kamengo, all those funny things. We don't want them. We terminated the constituency where everybody's watching. And in order this constituency voted for so as the presidential candidate with so many votes, those tallies will be done in the open. We don't want a situation like what we have now. That the certificate President William Ruto was given, when you put on the spreadsheet, the results are different. The mathematics does not add up. When the math doesn't add up at that level, what are you dealing with?
Fire the math teacher.
You see? So, we don't want to end up in a situation like that.
So, Senator, finally,
Yes.
just to answer City's question, for you to be able to achieve all these things, you need to have people who are like-minded and as idealist as you are to help you realize this. How will you do that? How will
They are
you
in the majority. They'll take ballots and go and vote.
How will you identify the people to work with?
No, I'll give them an agenda. The people to work with are just many, and are there. Kenyans.
So they'll
Want
sign performance contracts
good
just like the current
governance.
ministers.
Not the kind of performance contracts. What we are talking about is change, is a systemic change. When you take the treasury away from the Ministry of Finance and set up the national treasurer, and he has got the keys to the purse, not the politicians. It's a game changer, my friend. There are things we need to do, institutions that have to be put up to achieve those kind of things. And if we do that, I'm telling you, public money will be sorted. If we make the budget, the primary tool of governance, even the fight to be president will not be as bad as it is. Right now, when people become president, they think, yeah, you have captured the state, so you can use it in a way that favors or disfavors some people. But if we remove that by just shifting and making the budget the principal tool of governance, and the people understand it, that if it's not in the budget, it's nowhere. Then when a president walks around, nobody will ask him for freebies. You simply tell him it's not in the budget. Maybe try next time.
Put in next year's budget.
To get in the next budget. So the country becomes a state, not a private property of whoever is wielding presidential power.
Senator Mtata, thank you very much for joining us.
And the way is, move the people. And the people are going to move with us. It's not a walk in the park, but it has to be done and doable.
And somebody must do it.
And somebody must do it. And the national anthem must begin reflecting what this country is. Not today when I sing the national anthem, I'm singing a national anthem to a different country.
Okiya Mtata is the senator from Busia County. He has established a presidential exploratory committee, a 10-member committee that has been gazetted. So he says when they come to you and they are polling and they're asking you questions, just know that they've got his mandate, okay? Thank you very much for joining us. This conversation begins. We have to continue with it and even get some members of that committee.
But it's a work under development. The policy framework is being done. We want to build a vehicle, and I'm just offering myself to be a driver for that vehicle. I'm not offering myself as the solution. I want to drive the vehicle.
You're just a driver.
Yeah, so there are many people working on that, and the very, very clear policies will come out very soon. But for the cabinet, we have already, that one we have done. We'll have a small cabinet of 14 ministers, closed chapter.
Very good.
Cut off the wastage.
2 minutes after 10. Thank you for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation. See you again tomorrow.